So this is the long-awaited. Well, I don't know if it is or not, but this is every blinking time I go on camera, I start prattling about with my hair. I thought, tie it back. What's have any problems? Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So this is the long-awaited um, overview. Well, more appreciation of one of 2000 AD's other heavy hitter characters. And one, in my mind, is a more complete and rounded figure than Judge Dredd, and that's Johnny Alpha, aka Strontium Dog. Now, Strontium Dog, and by the way, this is him. So, Strontium Dog started not in 2000 AD. Oh, pardon me. Every bloody time I do a video, I either start getting full of hay fever or burping. I'm so professional. So anyway, yeah, so Strontium Dog, Johnny Alpha, actually didn't start in 2000 AD. He started off in a title that was launched, I think it was about a year or so later than 2000 AD. 2000 AD, I think it's about 78, 79. And it was a magazine called Star-Lord. And it was quite a pioneer for that time, because at that time, 2000 AD and all the other British comics were just on like slightly higher graded paper to newsprint. It was really quite rough paper. So it was not like American comics. It was even more flimsy than American comics, because at least for American comics you had the glossy cover, even if you had like newsprint inside. Whereas the British ones had like a newsprint cover as well. But Star-Lord was something different. And when it came out, I think it's about 12 pence, and back about 1978 that was an extortionate amount to pay for a comic. But it had loads of coloured pages, and like I said, it was like a sister title to 2000 AD, because they saw the success of 2000 AD. Sorry, 2000 AD, not 2000 AD. They saw the success of 2000 AD, and they thought, okay, we'll do another science fiction title. And so Star-Lord was the product of that. And I loved it when it came out. I was about 78, I'd have been about 8. So I loved it. I'd never seen a British comic like this, but a nice shiny cover. Of course, the obligatory free gifts for the first few issues. And there's loads of coloured pages inside as well. And Strontium Dog just blew me away. I mean, I was a big fan of 2000 AD, but at that age I was too young really to appreciate Judge Dredd. That was my least favourite character. I mean, now I bloody love Judge Dredd. But Strontium Dog was like more relatable in a way, because basically what Strontium Dogs are, they're called Search and Destroy Agents, which is what they've got underneath the main, under his name here. I'll read the back of it and he explains what they are. Just on my microphone. So, because I'm blind as a bat. So it says, Strontium Dog initially was set in the 22nd century, late 22nd century. It says, following the atomic war of 2150, Britain has been devastated by a nuclear holocaust. The survivors rebuilt their lives, but many were warped by the mutating effects of strontium-90 fallout. Unable to live or work amongst the norms, mutants were forced to grow up in ghettos and take the only job open to them, which was bounty hunting. These search-destroy agents hunt the criminals too dangerous for the Galactic Crime Commission. And one such Strontium Dog is Johnny Alpha, and this was the cool thing about Johnny Alpha. He looked normal apart from this one factor. His eyes emit piercing alpha rays and enable him to see through solid objects into men's minds. So he could basically control men's minds with his eyes, with his sight. So he looked normal, apart from his eyes, which were like just white. I mean, look at the thing I loved about Strontium Dog as well. The uniform was just so cool. Whereas Just Dress was more like policeman's uniform, more fascistic. This one was much more practical. Loads of cool things, like loads of holsters. Way before Rob Liefeld went holster crazy, and the uniform designed by Colossus. Again, Another thing that makes it cool, majority of Strontium Dog was drawn by Carlos Esquera, Judge Dredd's artist. Now, unfortunately, the Star-Lord stories aren't in this book. Now, these books, I've got 1 through 5 in this format, and then after that they did colour books. These are the black and white ones. Now, these are really hard to find now. I had a look online to see how easy they are. Some of these are going for ridiculous amounts of money, so I'm never going to get rid of these. But you can get them digitally still from 2000ad.com for about £9, something like that. And they're well worth doing it. But the store, like I said, I loved how the majority of Strontium Dog was done by Carlos Esquera and John Wagner and Alan Grant. John Wagner and Alan Grant, when they worked together, a lot of times they went by the nom de plume of T.B. Grover when they did stories together. And it's just such a fun, cool comic. Now, they did bring out a book recently, I think last year, called Strontium Dog, Search and Destroy the Star-Lord Years. And you know how they say you get FOMO? Well, oh my God, I've got FOMO with that one. I thought I'll leave it for a bit, just leave it for a few months and then I'll get it. Can't get it now, sold out. I've actually I've tweeted about it to 2000 AD, I hope they do something about it. But now, to get it in the wild, you're talking at least £100, and I'm just not willing to pay that for a book. Again, you can get it digitally, but I've got back into my floppies. But yeah, I'd love to get it because it has all the colour, and the colour work for that. It's not like the old American comics back in the 70s. British comics, when they did a colour page, the reason they were so special, they painted them. Whereas American, or they used markers, whereas American ones, it's that really vivid, badly printed colouring, but these look more like European comics when they did them. But sadly, not got that yet, so hopefully I will find it one day. But this is the start of when, about 879, I think it was. Star-Lord didn't last for long, it's about 40 issues, if that. And then it merged with 2000 AD, so this is the start of when they merged with 2000 AD. Sorry about this. Something strange going on there. I think, right, so this is the start of the 2000 AD strips. Now, some of them, the printing's not that great because they did have some colour pages initially to start with. And so that's what's in here. Does it say? Oh, right, okay. I tell a lie. It's been a few years since I've read this early one. I don't need to get the Star-Lord book. Oh, I'm stupid so-and-so. Because this one actually contains the Star-Lord stories, but because they're in colour, they've just reproduced these in black and white, but I would like to get the colour versions of this. So, they're a bit muddy. But then, from this section here, this is when it appeared in 2000 AD. And this is how Strontium Dog is mostly remembered now. People forget that he started in Star-Lord. And this is what, I mean, Carlos Esquera, brilliant colour artist, but also amazing black and white artist, extremely distinct. And this is where Strontium Dog really hit its stride. And it hit it. There's a character, Johnny Alpha has a partner, and this is his partner. Let me just find him. I'm trying to keep this under half an hour. And his partner, you can never find it when you're looking for it, can you? There we go. His partner is a Viking from the past called Wolf Sternhammer. And then they also have this other person who alien who joins called the Gronk, who calls Johnny out for Mr. Johnny. So cool. But one of the first stories, they go to hell. And then later on, which was just wild, I'd never read anything like it. If you imagine a child, I posted about this on Twitter saying how when I was growing up in the 70s and early 80s, British comics didn't really bother with superheroes. They were just boring. We didn't really... The arts tended to go for it. Futuristic lawmen, bastards, basically, crooks, super crooks, cowboys, soldiers, footballers, and really good science fiction. So that's what my comic background, when I was growing up, that's what I was used to. I only really got into superheroes when I was about a little bit older, about 10, 11. Found there was a shop where I could swap comics, so that's where I got them from. But yeah, so I've always been more into sci-fi, action kind of comics to that. But yeah, like I said, goes to hell, fights the devil, as you do. Because what they've got these, they've got time bombs, and these time bombs can make them go either a little bit into the future or a little bit into the past and so on. Got loads of cool little devices. But then after that one, have a look. Yeah. And the start of this one, the next person on it he's contracted to get is a little known German guy who was a painter, and that's Hitler. So way before Doctor Who did that Let's Kill Hitler storyline, 2000 AD did it with Strontium Dog. They had to go and get Hitler because there was a bounty on his head for crimes against humanity. And again, we're talking like this is the late 70s, early 80s. You just, it's just way in advance. This was what was called kids comics, and no, it was punk more than anything else. So yeah, so what they did release these about 15 years ago. They released these collections of all the early black and white adventures of Strontium Dog, and there's so many good storylines, and the artwork is just impeccable. If you can find them, I do recommend them more. Like I said, get the digital versions. They're really good reads. There's nothing quite like it. Alan Grant and John Wagner together, they have a very dark and fun sense of humour. And Judge Dredd has humour, but it's more about... That humour is more like political commenting on society. Strontium Dog, though, is just out and out belly laughs in certain points. It's just so cool. Strontium Dog's a cool bastard. He looks like... he's basically, if you could imagine Jim Morrison with a better haircut, that's him. So he's a cool so-and-so. And Carlos Square, who's so sadly missed now because of him passing away a few years ago, is just the consummate action artist. He can do space, he could do warfare, and he managed to merge both those flavours with Strontium Dog. This is the cover for the third one. Oh yeah, that's the cover for the second. And in the third one, go back to Viking times. I think to meet Wolf, or Wolf as Wolf calls himself. I think to meet some of his relatives. And what I like about 2000 AD compared to a lot of companies, DC, Marvel, etc., they don't stay still. Marvel and DC with the superheroes, they do change, but then they retroactively reboot it all again, or it's all a dream. They just don't take risks. Whereas what 2000 AD allow to do, they allow their characters to grow. I mean, like Judge Dredd, I think in the comic he's meant to be about 80 now, but with Judge's, his body's mostly now just body body parts transplanted and robotic parts and all. He's basically just had to go with lick and spits and a bit of stitching. But that's the characters mature and the storylines are they never throw away storylines. They can reference something that's happened years and years ago and then bring it back to a current storyline, and it all ties together. In this one, oh yeah, this is great. Strontium Dog, and again, don't know because this is a strong word for it when you're buying a comic as a kid. Bitch, this storyline was called. What I like about Strontium Dog, it doesn't just, it's like the Green Lanterns, it introduces all the other Strontium Dogs as well. Like there's one called Midden Face McNulty, who's a hard as nails Scottish guy, but his head, instead of having hair, it's got like these nodules all over it, and he's just superb. He's one of my favourite characters. There he is. That's Midden Face McNulty. And then there's also another character, another Strontium Dog, called Durham Red, and she is a vampire, and she's one of the first characters I had a crush on as a young kid. She was quite sexy about her. That's her in the bottom panel. And in this storyline, Ronald Reagan makes an appearance. And they're not very flattering when it comes to how they portray Ronald Reagan. Now, these are 4 chunky books with loads of different adventures. And then it moves to this book, and oh my god. I don't want to give too much away, but for starters, the first storyline had a different artist, and it focused on another Strontium Dog as well, and I was thinking, oh, what's going on here? And then that led and this storyline was called The Final Solution. Now, I didn't think anything of that. I mean, like I said, Johnny Alpha and Strontium Dog were a pillar of 2000 AD. Even though they started in another comic, it's like Shazam, who's become a pillar of DC. They then moved to. So I thought, oh, nothing will happen. He'll be fine. And I'm just going to stop the tape there because my battery's low, and then we'll do it in another episode, okay?